As it happens, we're visiting with another do-gooder in our area. It's the CEO of One Hope United, and Damon Cates, who joins us on the phone. Damon, welcome to Penny for Your Thoughts.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me on.
I'm delighted to have this conversation, and full transparency, I was completely unaware of One Hope United, and in particular your new efforts here in the area in helping foster children. So I'm assuming there's probably a listener or two who's also a little bit in the dark, but glad to give you a spotlight and learn more about what's going on with One Hope United.
Well, again, thank you for having us on. I'm delighted to share more.
What are you all about? I know you work with foster children, and in particular, it looks like trying to get them good homes.
Exactly. So One Hope United started nearly 130 years ago as an orphanage in the Downers Grove, Illinois area. And over the next 130 years, we've grown to be one of the largest social service agencies in the state. We do a lot of wraparound services for youth and families, as well as foster care, adoption, and other social services that we can provide for them. We also operate 6 early learning centers in the Chicagoland area. So we've had a long history in the state, and we're excited about this new initiative, which we're calling our Hope Houses. One Hope United, about 25 years ago or so, was asked to consider also providing family support services, case management, and other things like that, foster care and adoption services in Florida, which we did, and we pioneered with some of our partners down there this Hope House model, which I'm very delighted that with Heidi Mueller, who's the new director of Illinois' Department of Children and Family Services, we mentioned the idea to her a little over a year ago, and fast forward, and we now have 5 approved in the state, with 2 in the Champaign area opening soon.
That's tremendous. How many children could potentially find a home?
Yeah, so the model is that this really focuses on what are known as high acuity youth, or those who are some of the most vulnerable, if not the most vulnerable, in our foster care system. They're youth between the ages of 13 and 17 who, for a whole host of reasons, when they become that age and perhaps some of the other things that they've experienced along the way, become the most difficult to place in our foster care system. And oftentimes these are youth who unfortunately then have to perhaps be in offices during the day, have emergency placements at night, and every night is a different place where we can find for them for overnight care. And so One Hope United, like I said, in Florida, almost 6 years ago now, and now pioneering in Illinois, we're setting these homes up, which look like normal homes in normal neighborhoods where 4 youth live together as a foster family together.
And obviously would have adults there with them. And
Exactly. So that's right. So they're licensed as foster homes, and we have licensed foster parents who are One Hope United employees who guide all the work in the home. They have their own homes, but come and live in our homes 2 to 3 days a week. And then we have another foster parent who's there the rest of the time, 24/7, of course. And then we also have lots of wraparound services in the home, including a youth care worker who helps with homework and mentorship and fun activities on the weekends and co-curricular activities. We also have a licensed clinical social worker to provide therapy and other mental health services. And then we have a part-time nurse who stops by for any medical needs that might need to be handled, that could be handled at home versus being handled, if they need care elsewhere, then we seek that if necessary.
And why Champaign County? There's obviously needs everywhere. So how did it come to be that you would expand into Champaign County with a couple of these homes?
Yeah, so it's a twofold reason. One, we partner very, very closely with the Department of Children and Family Services, and we asked them where the demand was highest. And so we initially, as we set up our first Hope Houses in Illinois, they asked us to concentrate in Rockford, Illinois, in Champaign, and then in Southern Illinois. So we have 2 in Rockford, 2 in Champaign to start, and then 1 in Southern Illinois. And then the second reason I would say is it's just been such a delight and easy process to the Champaign community, Champaign-Urbana community is just so welcoming and wants to help, and has been just a fantastic partner all the way around in us being able to set up these homes, both in terms of finding the locations. We had our first open house 6 weeks ago or so in the Hope House that will open first, and the neighbors stopped by for our welcome. We couldn't feel more welcome in the community.
For folks whose interest is piqued here, who may want to help financially or with their time one way or another, what's your advice there?
Well, we have 2 main things that we need. One, anyone that knows, we found that the market for housing in the Champaign area, we need typically a 5-bedroom home. So, and we also are very intentional about leasing these homes because in the residential foster care model, youth sometimes have to travel great distances to be placed throughout the state. And our hope is to set up Hope Houses to meet the demand in local communities, so youth don't have to be transported all across the state for these kinds of placements. So we will be expanding if the need continues in Champaign. So if anyone knows of housing and we'd love to lease or talk about lease opportunities with folks. And then, the state is very generous in helping us fund these homes, and they do a nice job of meeting the day-to-day expectations. But as often is the case, that covers the basics. But we're also, if there's anyone that would like to help us, we could really use philanthropy dollars to help us make what we like to say the house a home, where we're able to provide just the extras that aren't covered by the contract.
Damon,
and the funding that we receive from the state.
Damon Cates, you've recently become the CEO, right? Just a few years?
That's right. I'm in my 2nd year as CEO.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your great work. Appreciate you giving us a little bit of a spotlight. And you can see that folks can go to onehopeunited.org for more information. And I'll put you on the spot since it is National Donut Day, Damon. Do you have a favorite donut?
I do. The French cruller is my favorite and my weakness.
Excellent choice. Hey, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us.
Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Have a terrific weekend.
You too. Damon Cates, CEO of One Hope United. And there's now a couple of Hope Houses that are opening up in Champaign County. You can visit their website to learn more.